All right, so we are going to look at functions of Excel. That is sumif, counter or count A, countif, concatenate, if, and vlookup functions. These are the first functions we are going to look at. And after this, we are going to eat into deeper functions in performing advanced analysis with Excel. So Excel has so many functions. In mathematics, we call them formulas, but in Excel, we call them functions. But before that, let's look at some basic terminologies. So we are going to look at some basic keywords in data science or data analysis. So the first keyword we are going to look at is values. So whenever you hear of values, or I keep mentioning values, I'm just talking about numbers. I'm just talking about numbers or figures. Also, values can be qualitative. That means numbers or words. Let me put it this way. So I can use values for either numbers or words, meaning that I want to talk about qualitative, and quantitative values. I want to talk about qualitative and quantitative values like this. This is wrap test, if you want to wrap a test. So the second keyword we are going to look at is impute. To impute in data science means replacing a missing value, replacing a missing value, right? Or replacing a missing number, right? So let me say a missing number. So a missing number. So we've looked at values and impute. So imputing something means you are putting a figure into an empty cell, right? So we impute. We are also looking at functions. So basically, as our topic indicates, functions simply means formulas, right? Formulas we are going to use in Excel. So basically formulas. So if you hear functions, we are talking about formulas in mathematics. So the first function we are going to look at is the average function. So those from non-mathematical background, if you hear of average, what it means is that we are looking for our arithmetic mean. What does this mean in Excel or in data analytics? So often you will be given a table that's a structured data. So in a column that has quantitative values, we always find the average on quantitative values. So for example, you have students, and you are looking at their scores. So English scores. So in the English score, student A, student B, student C, and you are looking at 30%, 70%, and for 35% as well. So if we want to find the average, we have a function called, okay, so let me put the function over here. So the function is the average function, right? So the formula is average function like this. So to use this average function, what we will do first is to bring, let me delete this first. To find our average, we will bring our equal sign by average, then you look for this one, So average, you highlight everything here, then you close your bracket. Always, I'm coming. So equal sign your average. So your cell E3 to E5. You close your bracket. Now you have your average over here. So the average is the same as the mean. So whenever you are asked to find the mean, the formula or the function to use is the average function. The second function we are going to look at is the sum. It's the sum function. What does it mean, and when do I need to use my sum function? So I can use my sum function when I want to add values up. So remember, we also use the sum function for quantitative values. Quantitative values. So quantitative values, I'm talking about numbers. So how do I find my sum? Using this same column E, now to find the sum or to add up the values, now we can use our normal mathematical or arithmetic operation sign or operation symbol. So we can say 30 plus 70 plus 35. No, sorry, 35. So I'm coming. Oh, I see. So now this is, it's not 03, it is 30. So please, all right, 35. So now we have 135. If it is true, let's do it manually. So 70 plus 30, 135, 135. That is correct. So now let's use the function, the sum function. So the sum function, now when you select your sum function, just highlight everything from the cell you are looking for to your target last cell. You close your bracket, always make sure the bracket is open and it is closed correctly. Indeed, we have it over here, right? So this is the magic of the sum function. The next function we are also looking at is the sum if function. The sum if function will look confusing though, but I'm going to make it simple as we can all understand. So to sum, the sum if is going to be different and new to us. So the sum if function is used. When can I use the sum if function? Now I can use the sum if function only if I want to add values that meet my criteria. What does this mean? So adding values that meet my criteria. So what criteria am I looking for? So now when you see this, what you can do is to, because you can see the values here are longer than the cell. So you can wrap test this one. You come here, you look for a wrap test, you wrap test it. But you can choose not to do anything over here, right? We will handle it later. So okay, now with the keywords, there is something I want us to take note called string. So string is a data type that is only talking about words. Test. So in your data, when we come here and I ask of a string, I'm only looking for the qualitative values over here. The test, the words is what we call string. So in data science, our terminology is what? String. We mean words. So now to generate a string values for the sum if, so maybe I can look for card type. I think I used this the last time. Card type. and I can look at the total number of the total number of the cars available. So maybe I am a car seller and I have different types of Toyota cars, but I'm also looking at the name, the brand Toyota. So Toyota, I have maybe Toyota Toyota Elantra, Toyota whatever, Hyundai Elantra, Hyundai whatever. I have so many stock, right? So the Toyota, I have maybe the first one I have 10, and Hyundai, I have 12. V8, I have 3, and another V8, maybe 2022 model. So V8 again, I have about 29, and Toyota Yaris 2, I have 23, and maybe Hyundai. I have another type of the Hyundai, or year of the Hyundai, maybe 2, right? So in this case, how can I use the sum if looking for a criteria? Now I can use my sum if only when over here, you could say I have my string data type here, and I have my int data type. So if I talk about int data type, I'm talking about integers. Int data type, right? Int. I'm talking about integers. And from our basic mathematics, we know integers are positive and negative numbers, or negative whole numbers, right? They are called integers. So this, I want to know the total number of Toyota cars, irrespective of the years, either 2021 model, 2022 model, 2023 model. I'm looking at Toyota cars, I'm looking at Hyundai cars, I'm looking at V8 cars. So how do I sum all the total values for these cars individually? In this case, if I want to use my sum, if I want to add up values over here, it is going to be difficult to get the values for either Toyota, so sum, because if I sum everything, I'm going to get the total number of cars as stock, right? Of which that isn't what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the total number of Hyundai cars available and the total number of V8 cars available. In this case, I am looking at the name of the cars and the total number. So in this sense, sum if is the ideal function or formula to go for, because now my criteria is to look at the total number of Toyota cars, Hyundai cars, and V8 as stock. So my criteria is either the Toyota, the Hyundai, or the V8. So how do I use this formula? So let's say I'm only looking for Toyota cars, right? Toyota cars. That's how you can use your sum if function. Now your sum if, now the sum if is looking for a range. The range the sum if is looking for is what you want to look for its sum total. So you first highlight your entire column for your string data type. Now, over here, the argument is asking for a comma, bring the comma. What is the criteria here? The criteria here is what you are looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for Toyota cars. So come and highlight the Toyota cars only. the argument is asking for another comma. Now it is asking for some range. This sum range you are looking for is to highlight all the int column, right? I'm talking about the values you want to add up. So in this case, this function is going to look into your range. That's the names of the cars. And what criteria are you looking for? You are looking for Toyota cars. And now the function is going to stress on what is at the middle here, the Toyota cars. So in the Toyota cars, it is only going to sum the total number of Toyota cars over here. So in all, I think we will get 33 or so. So let's see. Indeed, yes, we got it. We got the 33 here. This means that our function is what? Correct. Our function here is correct. So we can do it individually for each. So now let me add another. My function here is to look for so the total. I'm coming. So Toyota cars. So sum total. No, so let me say Toyota cars. So Toyota cars. 33. Let me come to V8 cars. So to calculate for the total number of V8 cars, I can use my sum because I'm looking for a criteria. So I'll highlight all the column for the west, then my comma, then my criteria here is V8, comma, then I add up all my values, quantitative values. So it is going to look for V8 cars and put all the values for V8 cars together for me. And V8 cars, if we do it manually, we will get 29 plus 3, we are getting 32, right? Indeed, we got it over here as well. So this is correct. This is correct. Also, there is another way to do this. The way to do this again is when you are not only looking for your criteria one after the other, but you want to configure an empty cell. Let me put it here. Configuring empty cell. Where you want to configure an empty cell to automate your calculation or automate your EDA, automate your exploratory data analysis. You have a very large data set, you cannot do it one after the other, but you want to look at it in configuration. How do you configure your function? Okay, to configure your function, now I can come here. If I want to look for the answers in this box, leave an empty cell behind. So now we are using the same function, meaning that we are not going to look at them one after the other, but to automate them so we can change them one after the other to look at what is actually happening. So your sumif, highlight your string column. I'm talking about the criteria you're looking for, your qualitative values, highlight everything, right? So if it says data, you're going to highlight the names of the product or the names of the sales people. The criteria here, we are not going to pick any of these because we are not going to look at them one after the other. So highlight the empty cell. What the empty cell is doing here is that instead of highlighting the Toyota, after the function, we will come and put the name of any cars over here and it will give us the sum total of them. Now, come and highlight everything here. So let me explain the formula. This range is the range for all the cars, and the empty cell here, the D26, is the empty cell because we want to put the name here and it will give us the sum total of whatever we are looking for. That's why what I said, configuring empty cell. So we are configuring our formula for this empty cell. So let's close it. It will give us 0, right? So let's highlight here to be able to notice what is going to happen next. So to know the number of V8 cars, just type the V8 cars over here. Come. Oh. Okay. Let me do it again. I think because I colored it. So sum if. Let me highlight everything here. Comma. Empty cell and some range. Comma. Then this. Now let me type in here Toyota. Oh, why? I'm coming. So cast and here let me put here a number. I don't know why it is not working. It should work. So my sum range, my sum if, so my sum if my range of the cast, my empty cell, my sum range, no, my sum range, this, it should give me 0 here. And when I put V8, oh, why is this not automated? Why is it not changing? It should. I'm coming up. Let me see. Hyundai. What's happening? Let me correct this. Oh, I'm coming. It should work. 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 So let me say cast and number. Now Toyota 3 V8 VS or 50 VS again. VS Toyota. I'm coming. Toyota 5. So here I'm looking at cast. I'm looking at the number. So to automate my function, sum if this, comma, my empty cell, then my sum range, over here. So over here, my empty cell should be here, then comma, 0. So let me put in Toyota. Let me put in Toyota here. Okay. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. So this is the magic. I don't know why this part is not working. Okay, because of the wrap test over here, let me see. Because I wrapped this, that's why it is giving me that. So let me see. Because I wrapped this, that's why it gave me the issue. So over here, if I put in the VS, it is going to give me only 50 because I only have one VS here, VS, right? It's going to give me 50, right? So now we can automate the function where we will not be wasting time typing the function one after the other for all the criteria we are looking for. So imagine you have about 100 to 200 rows you are working on. Are you going to do it manually, or you are going to configure your formula to get whatever you want? So now we can add up. We can do more. So cast. Okay, so now we've done for cast. Let's do for communities, right? So communities and total cases. Then here, this is year. So year. So we are looking at total cases of COVID-19 in community AA, community BB, community CC. Okay, so let's use something realistic. Accra. So those from Tanzania, please, we are just using names of towns in Ghana, Kumasi, Cape Coast. So if it's your first time, you can search the names of our cities online and you can look at the beautiful Ghana. So one day you can come and visit us here. And Takoradi, that's the oil city, Takoradi. Takoradi. All right. So now this, we are looking at 200 total cases, 20 total cases, 29 total cases, and 23 total cases. So Accra again, Cape Coast, Kumasi, and Takoradi. Why am I repeating the names over here? I'm repeating them because we are looking at total cases of COVID recorded in 2020, 2020, 2020, 2020, 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021. All right. So we can add up to 2023 or 2024, right? But we are using just 2021 and 2022, 2020 and 2021 COVID-19 recorded cases. So Accra, in 2021, we recorded maybe 24 cases. Cape Coast recorded 4 cases. Kumasi recorded 12 cases. And Takoradi recorded 1 case. So if we are to calculate for this, now we can just use the sum too. If we need the sum total for the entire total cases recorded from 2020 to 2021, then we can use our sum function over here to look for the total number of cases being recorded from 2020 to 2021 to be 333. But in this case, if we want to look at the towns and total number of cases, total cases. So to look at our total cases over here, for each town from 2020 to 2021, then sumif is an ideal formula to be used. How do we do this? So in this case, we are not going to look at the criteria individually. We are going to look at them in automated way. So we will select the entire names of the towns, and then we bring our comma, followed by our criteria. Now we are not going to use any of these names as we did earlier. We are going to use an empty cell, our comma. Then we are looking at the sum total or the sum range of the total cases recorded, then our comma. This will give us 0. So now let's put in the name of Accra here. Now this is going to give us the sum total of Accra cases from 2020 to 2021. So now 2020, Accra recorded 221, Accra recorded 24. So 224. Now, if we need Kumasi, we don't need to go and calculate for anything. Let's come and type in Kumasi over here. Now Kumasi is giving us 0. No, this shouldn't give us 0. I'm coming. Let me look at Takoradi. All right, so now I think, please, Excel is very case sensitive, right? So how you spell the names, let it be that as it is. So now we have 24 cases. Let's see Takoradi. Takoradi, we have 23 here and we have 1 here. And let's see finally Cape Coast. Cape Coast. So Cape Coast, we are looking at 33. So we have 4 here, and we have Cape, we have 29 here, making 33. Right. So this is a way we can automate our function using sumif. So if you have any issue with the understanding, you can let me know and I'll walk you through anytime you are free. Now let's look at another function called count. Now this count, we use this count to count only the number of qualitative values we have. So remember that the count function, is only used for numbers. So let me type it here, count. So this count function is used for numbers, not words, text. So now I'm using the terminology. It's not used for strings. It's used for qualitative values, right? So now how do I use this count function? I'll use this count function when I want to know the number of the values we have here. So I can bring my count and I write the count function here. This is it, the count. So this count is very simple. I want to count them one after the other, right? So one after the other. So I can highlight from 10 to 2, right? So if I close it, it is going to count them one after the other. So meaning we have 6 values over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is correct, right? That is correct. But let's see if the count function works for strings, right? If the count function works for strings, let's see. So let's use the count function over here to look for the strings. So I want to count the total number of cars here individually, right? If it didn't work, then we ask ourselves, why this is giving us 0? This is giving us 0 because the count function only works for quantitative values. So if I want to count for qualitative, that is strings, then I can add a called count a function or the counter function. And this is going to give me 6, right? Going to give me 6. So we have the count if function too. So please, the next function here to talk about is the counter function or the count a function. So we use the count a function. It's used for what? Used for strings. We used to find the total number of strings variables we have. We want to count the names of the students, right? How many students do you have? So you use your counter or count a function to look for them, right? Total number of 6 people or 6 persons. Use your counter to do that. But if you're looking at the values, the quantitative, you use count. Now, let's look at the count if function. How does the count if function works? So the count if function, we use the count if function when you are looking for the total text variables you have, right? So when you are looking for string variables or values, string values. So how do you look for string values? So now over here, you want to know the total number of Toyota cars. We are not looking at the numbers as in the quantities. We are looking at the number of Toyota cars, specifically the names, right? I have 5 Toyota cars, and these 5 Toyota cars, I have 18 of them, right? Then we are looking at the numbers, but looking at the Toyota cars, we use the count if function. It is more or less like the opposite of the sumif. So this one, we use the countif to look for the total number of cars. So now this asking of the range, you highlight everything here, the range, followed by what is the criteria you're looking for? I'm looking for Toyota cars, right? I'm looking for only Toyota cars. Then now Toyota cars, I have 2 Toyota cars. So if I want to look for the total number of V8 cars, now I'll come and use my countif again, then select the total number of this, comma, the criteria is V8. Then I know I have 2 V8 over here. So to understand better, let's look at how many often do we see cases for Kumasi. Maybe let's say over here, we are adding another cell where in 2022, right? It should be down though. So 2022, we only recorded a case for Kumasi, right? For Kumasi. So let's say 2019, right? Let's put here 2019. But in 2019, we didn't record any case for any of the towns in Ghana, right? So I want to look at how many times we have Kumasi here, right? So I will use my countif function, and I'll highlight everything for my string column, followed by my criteria. I'm looking for Kumasi, right? Looking for Kumasi. Then I close it. Now I have 3 over here, so I can see that Kumasi is being recorded 3 times. So now I can come and look for whatever I'm looking for. Let's use the countif again for Cape Coast, and this one is going to give us 2 or so, because we only have 2020 and 2021 for Cape Coast. So it's here. I close it. Then this is going to give me 2, right? That's the magic of using the countif as well, right? Let me highlight it over here. The countif function. Now, the next one we are going to look at is the concatenate function, right? So what does it mean, concatenate? To concatenate, to concatenate in data science means to put a test together, right? So it's a test function. So concatenate is a test function, right? Test function. So test, we are looking at string. Test function to join. So we use it to join 2 or more test strings. Test string together. Test string together. And this is very useful, right? This function is super useful. So let's try how to use this function. I really love this function a lot, each and every time I'm working with a cell. So to use this concatenate function, let's try and populate something over here. So we have names. So 6 persons, and we are looking at commodities, and we are looking at amount, and we are looking at unit. That's the unit price. So 6 persons, we are looking at okay, so the 6 person. Okay, let me use this person over here. So I'm looking at their first name and their surname, right? I'm looking at their surname and their surname. So the first name, and surname. So the first name, we are looking at Thomas, and surname, we are looking at Yamiche. Second, we are looking at Gladys. We are looking at Gladys Manson. We are looking at Niru. We are looking at Niru Abigail as surname, right? Abigail as surname. So we are looking at, so we can ignore the commodity and the price for now. So we look at how to concatenate these two names. So using the concatenate function or formula, now we are looking at full name, their full name. We're going to put everything together. So looking at full name, the function we are going to use is concatenate. Concatenate, not concat, please. Use this one, concatenate. So when you use the concatenate, now this one is looking for test 1 and test 2. So highlight the first one, followed by comma, and the second one, right? Close your bracket. And now the issue here is that it is going to put the two names together, Thomas Nyame. But in this case, if it is a name, we would want to give a space, right, in between. So how do we do that? To give a space or to leave a space between the two tests. So you have Thomas Nyame as nice name. What you are going to do is that you write your concatenate function, So after you highlight the first one, followed by comma, now bring this 2 over here. This 2 is going to give you the space, right? Please make sure you bring your another comma again, followed by the next test. So you close your bracket, and now we are going to get, I'm coming, concatenate. Okay, so leave a space between them. All right. So the issue here was that at first I didn't give a space over here. So you make sure that so you can see that because I didn't give a space, it is putting them together like we saw earlier, right? So you come here and you give a space between your two semicolons. And now it is going to give you the space as a full name for each. So full name. Now I can choose to come here, not to waste time looking for it individually, right? So we replicate them. To replicate means you copy and paste the function. Since the function is going to look for the same thing for the next name and Niru Abigail as well, what you will do is to copy and paste the formula. To copy and paste the formula, the best way to copy and paste formula or to replicate the function is to make sure that your cursor turns to this Jesus cross sign or symbol, you drag it. So when we come here, now we already have the formula here, and we want to apply the same formula for what we have over here. So come and replicate the formula here, and it will do the same magic for you, right? So the next one we are going to look for is the if function. There is going to be something tricky, but very simple, and it's very useful to do your analysis as well. Now we have list of fruits over here. List of fruits over here. So we have apple, we have mango, we have orange, and maybe we have tomatoes over here. And now I want to use my if function. When do I use my if function? I would want to use my if function when I want to compare my criteria to other variables depending on what I'm looking for. So in this case, I have a very tall list of apples or fruits, and I want to look for only the apple. So if what I'm looking for is apple, tell me yes, it is apple. If not, tell me no, this is not an apple. But the if function takes an argument of true or false. True means yes, it's an apple. False means it is not an apple, right? So the true or false. But now we can also change the true or false. But to change the true or false to whatever we want to put it there, then it follows a condition, right? The condition is to bring whatever you want to write with semicolons, we will get it. So let's go with the default function. So if the apple here is equal to, please, it's a condition, right? It's a condition. So if the apple here is equal to, no, so now to type the apple, select the cell. So E5 is given as the apple. So if E5 is equal to apple, so put your apple in is equal to apple, comma. Tell me it is true, right? So you write here true. Or, I said or, tell me it is true, else it is what? False. So this means that if it is false, if it is not an apple, tell me it is false. But if it is an apple, tell me it is true, right? So this would serve as our default setting or the default function. So now the apple is going to tell me, yeah, this is an apple. The rest is going to give me false. Let me continue and write here apple again. True. Let me write maybe CA to give me false because this is not an apple. Apple, true. Apple, true. Apple again, true. Mango, false. Awesome. Now, I want to condition it in a sense that I want it to tell me with words to understand something, because my supervisor or the person who is going to understand the data doesn't know what is true, what is false, right? For my large data set. So what I will do is to configure or condition my function using the if. So if E5, that is the apple, is equal to apple. So please put it, what any string you are writing, please put it in this for me. Apple, apple, comma. Now I'm not going to use the true and false, but to do away with the true or false function, put whatever you are going to write, because it's a string, put it in quotation marks. Tell me this is an apple. This is an apple. Else, please close it. Sorry. Close it. You close it with your quotation mark followed by comma. Now we are not going to use the false. The false, you are going to put in whatever that you want to see or you want to use for your analysis. Say this is not an apple. This is not an apple. This is not an apple, right? You close your quotation mark. Now let's go. It will tell us this is an apple. So if we drag, why are we dragging? We are dragging because we are using the same formula for whatever we have here. So it is good we replicate the formula. This is the spelling, replicate. To replicate a function means to copy and paste. Copy and paste. Or you are using the same function. You are using the same function for the rest of the analysis. That's when we say you are replicating a function or a formula. So to replicate my formula over here, let me my cursor tend to just cross sign here and drag it. Now, by my condition, this is telling me this is an apple, this is not an apple, this is not an apple, this is not an apple over here. Let's look at the other way around for this. Somebody will ask, okay, so how do I use this on quantitative variables? Okay, now I have workers or employees, and I have their salaries. So employee, myself, Richard, James and Nuru, right? So now Rich's salary is $2,000, and James' salary is 1,500. No, 1,500. $500. No, $200 and $150, and Nuru is taking as low as $50. And now I want to analyze this and see that whoever takes less than $100 a month, tell me I need increment. Tell me I need increment. So to do that, we are going to use the if function again. So if the salary, the salaries here, right? The salaries here is less than. This is what this is greater than, right? It's less than $100. $100, comma. It's less than $100. Tell me it's okay, right? Tell me it's okay. So tell me maybe minimum wage, minimum wage, meaning this $200 can survive Richard for a month. And the fourth, tell me the person needs, so say maybe bad wage, need increment. So bad wage, need increment. Please make sure you close it before you bring your bracket, right? Let's see. So now, if this is less than $100, meaning minimum wage, or this is greater than, okay, less than $100 minimum wage. But if it is bigger than $100, it is less than $100, then it is bad wage. We need an increment. So now, since this one is greater than $100, this is a minimum wage, right? So if I replicate myself over here, the 150 is a minimum wage, but the $50 a month is a bad wage, so we need an increment. Also, to the teachers, those in the education sector, let's do this for you. You have your students. I'm coming. You have your students here. Your students. And their scores for maybe English, right? So the same Richard, forget about the name, the spelling mistakes, and Nuru. So now Richard had 24 out of 100. James had 69, and Nuru had 98%. So now you want to look at those who had above average. That's from 50, right? For them, you not do anything. But you could realize that many of your students failed your English exam, and you want to add +10 to their exam. What do we do? So to add the +10 to those who couldn't get more than maybe 30, you want them to get at least maybe 40, 45, right? So you want to give them 10 marks, right? But those who got more than 50, they are not your target, right? So you use your if function. So if so you select your first score, right? Your first score. is less than, so if your first score is less than, let me see, it's less than 50. It's less than 50. My true should be that the first argument plus 10, else 0. Why S0 over here? S0 over here because if it is more than 50, it's more than 50, right? It is more than 50. That isn't my target. I'm not adding anything. But if it is less than 50, add plus 10 to the person. That is the first one, true. If it is true, add plus 10. But if it is false, that the person got 50 and above, don't add anything, right? That's why this one is adding plus 10. And over here, you could see it is giving me 0, 0 because James and Nuru got more than or had more than 50. That's why it is giving me this. So this is the magic of the if function. So the last function we are going to look at is the vlookup. So vlookup simply means vertical lookup. So vertical lookup. So when do I use this vertical lookup? I'll use this vertical lookup when I'm looking for a kind of information corresponding to the other, right? So let's try and see and use the same, maybe students or employees. Now that's name, right? So the employees, I'm looking at their names. I'm looking at their email. I'm looking at their contact. And I'm looking at their salary. So here I'm looking at Richard. I'm looking at his email, richard@gmail.com or rich@gmail.com. I'm looking at his contact, +233 +234. I'm looking at James. I'm looking at j@gmail.com. I'm looking at his contact 455. I'm looking at Nuru. I'm looking at n@gmail.com. I'm looking at contact 8567. And salaries, I'm looking at Richard $200, James $150, and Nuru $50. So over here, I have this large data set. I'm doing my analysis, and I want to look for their name, their emails, and their contact, their salaries, but I cannot do them one after the other. So the vlookup, the vertical lookup, vertically, it is going to look at it vertically, right? Vertically. So now Richard vertically is corresponding to rich@gmail. Vertically, it is corresponding to the contact and corresponding to this. So how do I do it? So to look for it vertically, we have two ways of doing this, or retrieving the data from a large data set or database like this, right? Especially student database or sales database or HR database for employees, their salaries and stuff. So now what I can do is to write my vlookup function here. So now maybe I can just first write the name of the person, Richard, right? Because I'm looking for Richard. So now if I configure this Richard, it can be applied to everyone here without wasting time doing it manually. right? That's why I want to teach the two. So vlookup over here, vlookup here. So this vlookup over here, I'm going to select this Richard, right? So now if I need anybody here, I'll just come and put the person's name here and I'll get the entire details of the person, right? Like we did for sumif. So vlookup, I'm selecting Richard. I can select the Richard from here, but I'm not doing it for only Richard. I may look for details for almost all the employees or 2 or 5 employees. So you must automate your function. In automating your function, first have an empty cell, have first name of the employees or the student or the salespeople or the salesperson or the customers. Now it is asking you of the vlookup value is the Richard I'm looking for. I'm looking for Richard. And Richard should give me the vertical corresponding information, right? So vertical corresponding information, comma. It is asking of table array or array. So highlight everything, anything you want to include in your lookup for your Excel to look into. Specify it. So you specify the entire table. Please don't include the headers, only the table. So when you highlight the table, you bring your comma. Now it is asking of column index. What is column index? Please, it is asking of which column should I look for? And what are you looking for? Now, please, the column don't start here. Column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. No. It is asking of where you specify the table. So in your table, this is first column, second column, third column, and fourth column. So now I'm looking for column 1. This here, come and look for column 1 for me. Richard. Column 1, specify, bring comma. What am I looking for over here? Why am I adding another comma? I'm adding another comma because I want to only include what matches it exactly. So exact match. Don't go for approximate match, right? Exact. That's false, right? So you can manually type it false over here, right? Now I want to do it for Richard for his email, right? Let me bring the same vlookup here. vlookup here. And now in the vlookup, I'm looking for Richard again. And Richard, I'm looking for my table. Specify your table. And now you have your table range, your comma. What are you looking for? Now, don't go and click on the email, please. Don't go and click on the email. Now, we already have Richard configured. So come to the column index number. Come and look for corresponding information for Richard at column 2, comma. After the column 2, look at what matches Richard exactly. So you can type the first. You can type it here. Capital letters first. First. Now we have his email. Now we want to look for his contact, right? So vlookup, vertical lookup. Look at the corresponding information for Richard from column 3 for me. So I'll highlight Richard again, my comma, my table. Please do it well. Which column? Column number 3, followed by first match, right? Now close it. I'm using the fourth because I want it to match it exactly. It is giving me the contact. Now I need Richard's salary. So to get Richard's salary, because I am automating it for the first time, I must look for it in this way. Now come vlookup, where Richard again. For Richard, which table? Specify the table for your vlookup function. Which column? Come to the fourth column, 4. What do I need to do? Should I approximate it? No. Match it exactly. So means false, right? Now I have Richard over here. So now if I come and I type James, the information here should change for me. Why? Because I have automated my table, my large data set, where I don't need to go inside the table and look for anything. So any information I need about Nuru, I'll just come here, this empty cell over here, and I'll type Nuru. Right, and now Nuru I have, so now over here, maybe before you do, I can type your name, email, contact, and salary. All right, so this is the end of this tutorial. If you have any question, any issue, you let me know. I'll do a quick walkthrough so you will understand it better, right? So now we've configured the vlookup where we can retrieve data from our large data set or large table without going into the table again. So I need James. I need information about James. I'll come here. I'm coming. So it's not James. Right now, I have information about James over here, and I have information about Richard over here, right? So this is the power of VLOOKUP. So quick, we've covered SL functions. We are looking at formulas. We look at something small on the keywords. We spoke about values. We are talking about numbers, figures, or words. So values can be qualitative or quantitative numbers, right? But when we are talking about values, we usually mean quantitative values. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, going, right? And when we talk of impute, meaning you are putting numbers into an empty cell, replacing an empty cell, we call it impute. So imputing this means replacing an empty cell. When you hear of functions in SL, we are talking about formulas. When we talk of string, we are talking about words, right? Words or text. When you hear of int, we are talking about integers. Integers, it could be positive or negative numbers, right? So when we come here, we looked at sumif, average. So average, we said we are calculating for the arithmetic mean using the main function, right? This main function over here. The sum, when you want to add up your values, you use your sum function over here. The sumif is when you want to add up the values, but in this case, you have a criteria, combining both qualitative and quantitative variables together. So in doing that, we can do it in two ways, right? Doing it in two ways, you can, so this is how you do it. Your sumif, then you specify the string you have over here. So the string you have, the string you have over here, you specify the entire string, and after that, you notify the criteria you are looking for. So the criteria you are looking for, then followed by the range, right? And you will get the sumif function of what you want to do. But if you don't want to do it one after the other and you want to do it manually too, right? You use that same sumif function, right? Then you highlight your entire thing, your comma. Now I want to calculate for the total number of Hyundai cars I have, right? So in this case, you're only looking for Hyundai cars, and you highlight your sum range, your comma. Then you have your Hyundai cars to be what, 14, right? So that's it for sumif. Now let's come to the next function we looked at was we looked at count, right? So we use the count for quantitative variables. We want to know the number of values we have. We use our count function to do that. Now you want to look your countif. Countif is similar to sumif function when you want to look for the total number of maybe word variables you have, right? You want to look at how many Toyota cars do you have. You're looking at Toyota cars. So Toyota, I have maybe Toyota Yaris, Toyota Camry, Toyota this, Toyota that, right? So sumif will help you to look for that. And the count is used to count the number of quantitative variables, and counter or count A when you want to count your qualitative variable. That's your strength, right? I want to look at how many cars do I have. So you use your count A, and your concatenate, you use concatenate to put two strings together, two words together, right? Like we have over here. That's what we use concatenate to do. And we use the vlookup to look into a data set where we want to look at corresponding information. So my corresponding information is to look for information for each and every one. And in looking for information for each and every one, what I would do is to configure my function. So after my function is being configured for Richard, now I can use that same function to replicate for James, and any information about James will pop up. Any information about Nero will pop up. So that is the magic of the vlookup. And I think the last thing to look for here is the if function, right? So the if function is a conditional statement, right? If this cell, right, is equal to Apple, if this cell is equal to Apple, tell me it is true. If the rest of the fruit I have here are not so if the rest are not exactly as Apple, tell me it is false, right? So in doing that, the if function takes two arguments, true or false. In the true or false argument, we don't put quotation marks on any of them, right? Because it is the default function. But if you want to deviate from the default function and specify it as how you would want it to be, how you would want it to read, how you would want your analysis to be, then what you're going to do is to put whatever you want it into quotation marks, right? So if my E5, that is the first cell, Apple, is not the same as Apple, right? It's not the Apple, then tell me this is an apple. If it is the same, tell me it's an apple. If it is not the same, tell me it is not an apple. So if it is true, tell me it is an apple. If it is not true, tell me it is not an apple, right? So here you can say it is an apple, it is not an apple, it is an apple, it is not an apple, right? So if we tap here again, apple, now it will tell us true, it is an apple. False, it is not an apple. Does it? All right. So over here, we don't do it for only string variables, right? We do it also for int variables. I'm talking about int data types. So int data types, I'm talking about integers, values, quantitative data. Now we want to look at who is taking the minimum wage. The person who is not taking the minimum wage, let us know that the person wage is bad. So the person needs an increment. And how do we do it? So we could see that our first wage, right, if it is greater than $100, it is okay, minimum wage. It is true, minimum wage. No, false, bad wage, need increment. And once we drag it, the ones bigger, greater than $100, you could see minimum. The one lesser is what? Bad wage. Now let's look at the student scores over here. In English, Richard had 24, James and Nuru had above average. And this is the formula we used. Here, we are saying that if the first score is less than 50, meaning less than average, add 10. This is what most of the university lecturers used to do in grading us. So if it is less than, give the person 10 marks, sharp. If not, 0, because average, if you had 50 or plus, it's okay, it is cool. I'm not going to give you anything. But I'm looking at those who got 20, who didn't do well, to just give them 10, 10, to at least get something 30, whatever. It's okay. Even if you fail, right? And that is the power of if conditional statement. We will continue from here with advanced and more tougher functions, and we will perform real world data problem on these functions. So please take time and watch, get in touch, and let's take it from there. Thank you.